Oh, they're so cute. Grayson came in and jumped on the thing here and started recording himself. I think he wanted to be part of it. I may do that. Maybe I'll do that one of these days. We'll interview the kids. That might be funny. Might be silly. Wish I could splice those together. I wish YouTube had a way to merge bottom up. And I can do it obviously in Premiere, but like I said, the quality, for some reason, I tested it with my other camera in the 1080p. I was able to export it just fine and it looked really good. But that camera, the file sizes are enormous, and when I record to the SD card rather, I get a little bit of a stuttering as opposed to recording to the hard drive on it, which the thing I'm nervous about the hard drive on it is the camera has a USB out on it, but it's connected to the camera. So if anything ever happens to that, whatever's on the camera, I'm going to have to figure out how to fix the USB cord or how to transfer files to the SD card on it. So yeah, the intro to the show is coming along nicely. It features some music I recorded with Grayshine over 10 years ago now. But it fits the theme of the show really well. Actually, if you've heard the other video I did, the Sometimes We Claim, that's the song. I'm just using the ba-da-doom doom doom bam boom boom boom. Listen to it, you'll get what I mean. So it's like the first 16 seconds of the song, and I actually went into SoundForge and I took out a measure from the front of it just to get a little bit more variety in the music. And sometimes editing music like that with the sound waves can be really tough, especially when you're dealing with timing and drums. And it's a kind of a do-over process. If you've ever had to edit audio in that fashion, like I have mixed, I've engineered, I've done a lot of things with recording music and dumping it down and mixing it, but when you're dealing with those wave signals, like, you got to be dead on, or it's really easy to detect. And I think I got it like 97% close enough to what I want it to sound like, taking out 4 beats from a measure basically. And you'd never know, I don't think, if you didn't know the song. I did a little self-portrait today, or just the sketchiness of it. I think it looks pretty much exactly like me, especially the muscles. The only thing I can't figure out here is I was trying to figure out the crotch region, because the shirt's supposed to be a little bit longer. And no matter how many times I erased and redrew that section, it just looks wrong. Like, if I cover that area, the legs, the width, and everything looks fine. The rest of it, not so much. But, I pretty much always have a sword on my back, a dagger at my side, and a gun in one hand when I'm walking around. Now, my friends back home used to make fun of me all the time because I used to draw self-portraits. Not necessarily self-portraits, but I did a lot of self-portraits at first. Jesus, what was that? And a lot of other things that I drew tended to come out looking a lot like me, or so they claimed. I think they were just making fun of me. Sometimes they did, I'll admit it. I want to do a sketchbook video too, like I guess he's not really my good friend. I'd like to call him a good friend, but I don't really know him. Will Terrell. He does some of these where he just does the overhead camera, which that would be easy enough to do for something like that. Drawing is a whole other thing. Like, it's got to be just right so you can see the drawing and not cover it up too much. But with a sketchbook video, I can just kind of flip through the pages, and I can show you some of my older stuff, which I'd like to do, like I said, not just for you guys, but for my kids and for myself. It's a nice way to document it. So I plan on doing that really soon. That I will probably be doing within the next week or so. Let me just write myself a note here. Oh yes, we gotta talk about that. I'll put the note on the next page. We're gonna call it Sketch Diary. Dear Sketch Diary, today I went to the zoo. I drew a picture of an elephant. fighting a hippopotamus or something like that. I've never been able to journal. I have some beautiful journals. Carol got me this wonderful leather Celtic journal. Not one of the cheesy ones, one of the really nice ones. And I just can't bring myself to write in it because it's so pretty. I'm like, I want this to be something. But it's too small. Well, I guess you could still draw on it, but the drawings would be kind of small. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll just draw on it. Eventually, I gotta get over that. Because if I never do anything with it, it'll just sit in my drawer. Actually, I think I've got it right here. Mayhap. Oh, it was in there. Well, dang. I would have liked to show it to you because it's really a beautiful journal. I don't know. I'd lose my head if it wasn't attached. There's so much crap in these drawers. These drawers are just pathetic. Nah, whatever. Anywho, let's get on to the subject at hand. The whole, basically, cable, well, I wrote some of this down because I knew I was going to forget. Okay, so, well, not that I've known for a long time that basically all network cable is run by 3 companies. This is a fact. This isn't like something I'm making up. Comcast owns NBC, Disney owns ABC, and the News Corporation owns Fox Broadcasting. 3 media giants own all the cable networks, basically. Comcast and Time Warner serve about 35% of cable households. So, you may be asking yourself, and? This is... How do I say this? How do you trust your news? Who do you watch the news? Do you watch MSNBC? Do you watch Fox News? Do you watch, do you listen to NPR? Pretty much all of those, with the exception of NPR, are owned by 3 major corporations. And so, if you look at a corporation is designed basically to make money. For everybody in the company and its stockholders. So that's one of the reasons why you see commercials. Commercials, people pay so that they can advertise on shows. Now, shows that have bad ratings get dropped. Sadly, shows like Firefly. But if you're not bringing in ratings, the Nielsen ratings, then you're probably going to get dropped. So how do you get ratings? You give people what they want to see. You tell people what they want to hear. And that goes just as much for the news, pretty much. Now, obviously a story like today, like the tornadoes, most people aren't going to abuse that type of news. They're going to give it to you straight. They're going to say, 16 people died today in the tornadoes. And just to be respectful, because if you start, laying it on thick, saying, well, these tornadoes are all Obama's fault, which it wouldn't surprise me if Fox News airs something like that in a few days. But when it's fresh, they're relaying the news. However, they're all very opinionated. Obviously, and there is something wrong with this, something very wrong with this. Fox News leans towards the right and conservative, individuals, and it spins the news through its actors, which we believe are, or most people believe, are actual newscasters. These people aren't doing the work, or the majority of them aren't. There are some that are. However, they all put their spin on it because they're owned by 3 major corporations. So you get these 3 guys. Fox News probably couldn't air a show like The Daily Show or something that airs on MSNBC without the people who normally watch Fox News being very upset and turning the channel. MSNBC usually doesn't air things that you will see on Fox News because of the same situation. However, do you see the problem with this? If 3 corporations own all the news, basically, all the information you get, and not so much newspapers or to a certain degree local news, but Fox News is going to play their spin whenever they air anything because they know that's what their listeners want to hear. I started listening more to conservative radio, as you know, because I know what the liberal stations are going to say, and that's how I feel. But how does that benefit me? Of course, I get the news information. I still go to MSNBC every day just to see what's going on in the world. If I see a major breaking news story, I'm going to go to other sources to find out what's going on. I'll read the article there, but only if it usually relates to something that's not political. The problem is that MSNBC and Fox, like I said, they're going to tell you what you want to hear and how you want to hear it. You cannot deny this. No one can deny this. I'm not denying this, and I am a liberal. The problem is that there's not a lot of good sources for news anymore. Everything is spoon-fed to us. They hand us our jagged little pill and say, take that and you'll feel better in the morning. A lot of people say we're living in the most violent times. Christians will say that we're in the end times because the world is so violent and da-da-da-da. We're living, honestly, as scary as this sounds, in one of the most peaceful times we've ever existed in. Now you're going, what are you talking about? We've been to Iraq, several times, with everything going on in Iran and North Korea and Russia and Ukraine and this, that, and the other, because it's in your face, and it's because they want you to live in fear. Why do they want you to live in fear? People who live in fear, sorry about that. We had a derecho come through here a few years ago, and it wrecked some havoc in our yard and our house and stuff. It's like the power of a tornado with the size of a hurricane. That's the best way I can describe it. It's not quite as big an impact, oddly enough, but, well, actually it is. It's just as big an impact. However, we were lucky here. Could you imagine like a tornado, 10 times the size of a tornado tearing through, 100 miles of, stretch of state? So when I hear stuff like windows vibrating, I get a little nervous. Anywho, people who live in fear are going to stick to their TVs. They're going to be like, what's going on? What's going on? But it also creates that division that I always talk about, too. Because I don't know how to say this without sounding crazy, but I've said it before. So there's the old theory of divide and conquer. Now, usually that's meant by dividing armies. Perfect example. Germany split their forces. France and Russia, I can't remember exactly when they did. And that's how they were defeated. Well, look at this country. And tell me that our news media hasn't divided us. There's people that just absolutely hate liberals because they think they're stupid and sissies and they're tree huggers and they care more about the environment than they do about, their children and this, that, the other. And then you get conservatives who, they're idiots because they don't see how dangerous not having gun laws is and how important social programs are and to taking care of the country. Just those issues alone, look at the separation between those. Think of it like abortion or, military spending, anything like that. If you dig a little into that, you can see clearly that I'm not crazy about this. Our country, or whoever, the powers that be behind the media controls this country. I don't care if you love or hate Obama. I don't care if you love or hate Bush. The fact of the matter is the media directs you in those directions. Now, at this point, no matter what Obama does, even if he's actually done things, I wish I could cite a perfect example. I'll look it up and I'll tell you in a future video. That the right side completely approves of before he does it. Then he does it, and then they're like, he's an idiot. The fact of the matter is just we have been divided by the media. And it's sad that we have no power over that. The thing is we do. We have all the power. The problem is we abuse our power, and we don't use it in the way we should be using it. Let's look at Facebook, for example. Let's look at No, let's just talk. Let me just say social media, because I think, in general. All right, let me take a little bit deeper into this. Take a step deeper into this. Social media is a wonderful and beautiful thing. I love that I can interact with people that I don't get to see on a daily basis, or hear about how their family's doing, or what they're cooking that night. It doesn't matter. It's nice for that part. But if you think that those things aren't being monitored, like, you're out of your mind. Like, that is, as much as it is fun for us to have, it's just as much a tool for, you know, like I said, I don't want to use the term government, because I don't think it's necessarily just the government. Here, I'm going to get into my conspiracy theories now. To track and monitor and survey what you're doing. Now, most of us probably, you know, fly under the radar. Not a lot, even the stuff that we do post politically, religiously, it probably goes into some kind of a program that runs an algorithm that says, wow, this guy's really talking trash about the president, or this guy's really talking smack about, you know, making a change. Let's, like, for example, stopping, don't shop today, like those days, or don't buy gas today. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to work. It doesn't seem to have an effect. You'd have to do a long-term test like that. You can't do a one-day thing and expect it to have any effect whatsoever. Social media. We have the power amongst us to communicate on such a great level that we've never had in history before. Let's take a look at, you know, forms of communication through the years. At one point, you'd have to send people on horseback from city to city to report information. And as time progressed, you know, cars came into play, the post office came into play, letters could be delivered faster, packages could be sent through the mail. Suddenly we have this form of electronic communication, so we can email. Then all of a sudden we've got social media and chatting and Skyping. We have the power as a whole of our people, if we could all just agree and stop posting the pictures of what we ate for supper last night, to do something on a scale that's never been done since probably, you know, the Civil War. I'm not saying I want military action. I'm not saying let's get guns and rise up against our government. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that it's easier for us to communicate, but half of us that talk the talk don't walk the walk. And I'm guilty of it too. I mean, if I thought I could get enough backers to make a difference, I would make a run for it. I don't know. I'm not saying a political office. I mean, I am no politician. However, I see the problems, and they're not the problems that we think, or that at least we're being fed. You know what I mean? Fox will tell you the problem is Obamacare, and Obama and liberals. You know, and MSNBC is going to tell you that the problems are, you know, Boehner and Congress and, you know, the conservatives. We can't get our shit together enough to realize that we're all pawns in this giant game. And, I mean, the thing is that it's not affecting us on a day-to-day basis so much, except on, like, an economic level or I mean, domestically, the problems that we have in this country are the distribution of wealth, and like I was talking about earlier with minimum wage. Go watch that video if you don't know what I'm talking about, because like I said, I think I really got my point across in it. But our real problems are long term. Like, we're at an age right now where things could be a lot better than they are. And they could be making leaps and bounds forward to improve the quality of life of everyone living in this country. Now, I know this country is a great country. I know that we have a lot of freedoms, or we believe we have a lot of freedoms. However, some sacrifices can be made to have a better life, I think. Freedoms are such a funny thing. Like, we're all about our freedoms. However, we don't execute our freedoms half of the time anyway. You know, you look at the First Amendment, like, we can say more. We can speak up. We can get on our soapboxes in places that it's allowed and gather a crowd and talk. However, we don't. That's a big problem. Freedom of religion. This is a two-sided coin. Look at it from both sides. This is the divide and conquer I'm talking about. Look at it from a conservative perspective. They feel like there is a war on Christmas and there's a war on Christianity and that they're losing all their rights to be Christians. No, you're not. Not at all. You have every right. You have that right. You have that constitutional right to freedom of religion. Now look at it from the other side. You get Buddhists and Muslims and everybody saying that this is like, this, I mean, this, it's not a Christian nation, but the majority of people living in this country, at least based on surveys, are Christian. So for them, for Christians to say that we're losing our Christian nation is asinine. And the other side, you have the freedoms, even though you might be persecuted for them. It's a matter of deciding what you want to live for and what you want to stand up for, and sometimes what you want to die for. But that's the trick with freedom of religion, isn't it? Like, everybody thinks that they're right. And why? Because, well, that's what we're fed. You know, we're all fed some lies, some truths. It's so hard to discern anymore when you watch the news and you listen to, well, I'm not going to say names here, but needless to say, if you take the time to listen to the other side of the story, you're going to come up with arguments against what they're saying. However, all these arguments are just being fed to us anyway to argue about. We need to stop arguing. We need to stop watching the news, or at least these three corporate media giants, and start, talking amongst ourselves. Like, yeah, it's great to click on MSNBC today and see Luke, Leia, and Han are all in London. However, if I'm going to read something based on our current political flavor or world events, I'm probably not going to do that on a major corporation site. I just don't think you're getting the information the way you need to get the information. And it's a nice starter. It's a nice way to start the day, I think, to get some bad news and then go research it and find out it's not as bad as you think. But, yeah. So that's why I just don't feel like you can trust anything you see on TV anymore. TV is another thing altogether. Like, I am a fool for television. I love watching Game of Thrones. I love watching It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia and Family Guy. And I love all this, but even that, to a certain degree, even though it's entertainment, is another distraction. Like, if you died tomorrow, how important was it that you saw the latest episode of Vikings? I haven't started watching that show, by the way. I know I'm contradicting myself now, but honestly, I think about that. Like, I've said it a lot of times, you don't know that you have a tomorrow. You really don't. 16 people a week ago didn't know they were going to die because of tornadoes tearing across the country. They didn't. They really didn't. They got up, they went to work, they came home, they ate their supper, they turned on the TV, or maybe they didn't. Maybe they led their lives to the fullest every day of their life. I don't know, because I don't know them. But the fact of the matter remains is this should be a wake-up call for everybody to live and truly live, like, to the fullest. Like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with watching a show you like to watch. There really isn't. I mean, I love being entertained. There's nothing wrong with being entertained. It's just Carol reminding me I gotta go get my aunt, I think. There's no problem with being entertained, but you gotta separate yourself from it at some point and limit yourself, maybe. I don't know. Maybe if that's what makes you happy. I mean, maybe I'm wrong on that, but I just can't see how catching up on Game of Thrones is more important than, I don't know, spending time with your family, or going outside, or even just sitting on your porch at night rather than in front of a TV or something. Carol and I try to do that every now and again, but we get caught up in the trap too. We really do. Anywho, this is rolling along. This is at 24 minutes, and I do have to go get my aunt in about 15. So I will be back later tonight. hopefully with a little bit more lighter, fluffier, fun subject matter. It's tough though transitioning between the two. I have to admit, like some nights, like especially if I come out of the gun, come out of the barrel, you know, what's that term? I don't know. Like blazing hot about something I feel strongly about. It's tough to roll back. Thankfully, I'll have a little bit of an intermission here as I go down to the airport to get my aunt. So, anywho, if you're out in the the middle of the country towards Tennessee, Georgia, and stuff, I wish you the best of luck. Sounds like there's more tomatoes coming your way. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes and tornadoes. I don't mean to just in light of the tragedies that befall our country, but I mean sometimes you just gotta laugh. Sometimes you just gotta smile. Sometimes you gotta go out and make other people smile. And so I do apologize if these get a little deep sometime, or if you disagree. I don't apologize that you disagree, but I apologize if you came here for something else and you ended up with a lecture, because that's not my intention. I just, it's nice to have this all on YouTube so that someday if somebody looks back on it, I don't know, they know who I was. I hope you love it. I hope you're having a great time. Anyway, look forward to an intro to the show, which isn't too thrilling and exciting, I know, but it's fun for me, and allows me to hone my premiere skills. So, have a great night. Don't forget to make somebody smile. I'll be back again later with the lighter and fluffier Jay Oliveira. Until then, here's to a few more tomorrows. Iced tea, so delicious. I'll catch you guys later.